So I was disappointed. But I stayed, and the miracle of Alcoholics Anonymous began for me that day. And I want to thank all of you who do H&I because you saved my life. You saved my life. I'm so grateful for you. And they gave me the 20 question, and just like Ron, you know, both of us and many of you have taken some pretty tough tests successfully, and I thought this is going to be easy, and indeed, I had 17 right the first time I took it. And he said, "You're an alcoholic." I said, "I know." He said, "This isn't a joke. You really are an alcoholic." I said, "I know." And he said, "What is so funny or happy about this?" And I said, "Finally, someone is telling me what's wrong with me. I have thought myself a lot worse things because of the little promiscuity thing." And here he was telling me that there were other people who drank the way that I did, who did those shameful things, who had regrets and guilt, and now they had found a way to be sober and happy. And this was the best news I had heard in a long, long time. And if you're new, I do hope you feel this way. Then the road that you will be trudging will be a little bit easier than if you are resisting it. They saw how sick I really, really was, and they recommended I went to a 10-day program, then to a recovery house, and I'm so grateful for recovery houses. I was there for almost a year, and I was afraid to step outside. And I had known a lady who was moving to the coast where my sponsor was, and we did that. And along the way, this old boyfriend called me when I was at the house, and you know, I was the one with the grab bag clothes and no money and nothing in the world, and he called me up and he said, "There is nothing more that I would love if you would just come back home." In the big house with the big cars and the wealth, and he was handsome. This was on a Sunday morning, and his speech was slurred, but I didn't hold that against him. And I met with my first sponsor, Michael, who is a lady. And Michael and Bob, her husband, we went out for coffee that night, and we talked. And I said, "He called me, he wants me back." And he said, "Lynn, does he drink?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, "Well, that makes him unavailable to you." And I did not go. You would have another speaker today. I am so grateful for sponsorship. Although I have to let you know that I don't call my sponsor unless I've already explored all avenues. They can be so unpredictable. You just don't know what you're going to get. Like this particular time, I was managing a real estate office, and I'd been there for 3 months, and I was a bad manager. I have bad judgment. I'm a people pleaser. I spend too much money. The owner was mad. I was a taskmaster. Those real estate agents didn't want to hear it, and I was afraid of them. I felt when I walked in a room that the volume was turned down when they talk, and I felt paranoid. I had a nut here where I live. So that night I tell my sponsor about this, and she said, "Well, tonight, ask God to show you how you can help them be comfortable with you." So that's a nice twist. I'll do that. And the next day I was fired. They had been praying too. So on Friday I called her back like I haven't learned yesterday. And I said, "Listen, I don't like your prayers, but I need another one real quick." She said, "Well, you pray for the perfect job and the patience to wait for it." Well, the Wednesday before, there was a message at home. "Lynn, this is Eileen with legal staff. You have not been registered with us for months, and we know you have a great job, but we have this opportunity as a legal assistant, and we just thought we'd let you know." Well, on Wednesday, this just didn't seem like a great career move. I had a license to practice law when I was little, and then I was managing a real estate office. Being a legal assistant, maybe I would not be able to maintain my little dog Misty in the lifestyle in which I accustomed her to. So out of fear, I just didn't want to take it. But on Friday, I had a sudden change of attitude. So I called Eileen and I told her what happened, and she said, Lynn, this is spooky. I am a very religious person, and I don't know why I called you in the first place. So on Monday, I went to that job I didn't want. And they trained me in intellectual property as a paralegal, and that they became in high demand, and they kept increasing our salaries, and I ended up being a contractor with my own business. And then I finally accepted a position from one of my clients, and I'm still working there, and if they'll have me, I tell them I will retire there. This is my passion, and I just love what I do and who I work with, and it's just wonderful. But I was not going to go. I had no interest, content prior to investigation. And you know, those sponsors, I mean, they do the best they can. But we know little secrets as sponsors. So if you don't have one, in spite of the disclaimer, there are things that you may not realize, like on page 132, 133, I think it is, Howard. It is said that all alcoholics should have chocolate by their side. So I've had chocolate by my side every day until about 3 weeks ago. Now, usually they don't tell you things like that. And then they say that we are not to pray for a selfish thing. And the thing about prayer, I think Sandy and Howard, they make that way too complicated. A few years ago, I wanted a new motorcycle, so I asked a girlfriend of mine to pray that I get the motorcycle. Easy. And I got it. So you don't have to make it so complicated, you know? And sometimes I get this weird guidance, and in spite of my best effort, and I really want to follow, like I happened to overhear my husband making some travel arrangement, and I thought I didn't know about it, and normally this would not bother me, but that day it just bothered me, and I'm listening and I'm trying to stew, and I decided to take my cell phone, go outside, make one of those call your sponsor before you talk to him phone calls. And woof, 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 and woof, 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 woof. And she said, oh, honey, this is no big deal. You've been single all your life. He was divorced for 11 years. You're both learning to communicate. This is no big deal. But you don't understand. Woof, 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 woof. And she said, well, all right, he was a little bit inconsiderate, but this is no, can I at least say something about it? She said, all right, but I don't want you to go in there and take 15 minutes like you're presenting a case to the Supreme Court. 2 short sentences, nice and sweet, something like, honey, I happen to have overheard, and next time, if you would, and I love you. I said, oh, sure, I could say that. That sounds really neat. And I'm feeling already superior to him because I know he can't do that. And I'm all grown up. So we hang up and I'm practicing, honey, next time, and I love you. So I get to the door and he said, honey, where were you? I was talking to my sponsor and she said you're inconsiderate. My mouth has a mind of its own. And of course, he escalated it, and I did, and it took a couple of weeks to repair this thing. This is the best sponsorship. I've been taking the steps of Alcoholics Anonymous daily since I got sober. This was really the best that I could do. So much to learn. You know, we each have this path. I think that all of us are on this divinely inspired roller coaster. Each one of us. And if we can only trust that divine architect, that it's solid, that each turn has a reason, and each height and coming down, and everything is perfect for us. And we learn different things at different times. Like I remember, I was sober about 5 years, and I woke up one morning curled up in a little ball under the blanket, fearful, insecure, petrified, low self-esteem, feeling unworthy. I didn't want to do this anymore. But I had enough program to just go to the 7 a.m. meeting, and there were a couple people told me how I had helped them or made them laugh, and I felt a little bit better about myself. And I went back to that little job, a $5 an hour temp job, and I couldn't get a good job, and I owed money in spite of my best effort, and this man I had dated just broke up with me and telling me everything that was wrong with me, and he was right. I found out I had this huge resentment against my mother. I had literally holes in my shoes. People were going to Europe, they were getting married, getting new cars, nothing was happening to me, and I just had lost hope. And so at the end of the day, I went to the beach to meditate, and I said, God, we have to have a talk. I know that there are people who are happy in obedience, chastity, poverty, and celibacy, but I have not taken any vows. I sort of want to have it all, actually. I think you have me confused with someone else, or perhaps, my file was lost in a shuffle being an illegal alien, so literally an illegal alien. And finally it quieted down. And that same little voice said, Lynn, your primary purpose is to stay sober, and you have done that successfully for 5 years. You're my daughter, and I'm pleased with you. And to carry the message to the best of your ability whenever requested, and you have done that. I love you. And that was really my third step. The purpose of my life, to be with you, to be of service, to be useful. And I went to that little meeting, and they asked me to lead, and I shared that with them. And thank goodness I didn't drink that day, because a couple of weeks later I got this other job and doubled my salary, and then all went well. I was over that little hump, but I got a little bit closer to God to that experience. When I was about 16 years sober,